Good evening. I am Wafaa Rashed, founder and chair of Pan-African BGS Education and Research Initiative, PAPERI. As PAPERI marks its second anniversary, we are proud to celebrate the partnerships and people who are shaping genomics capacity and collaboration across Africa. Today, it's my great pleasure to welcome Dr. George Baptiste Di Rocha, Ensemble Outreach Project Leader, and Ms. Lewis Nilpionyu, Ensemble Outreach Officer. Sharon, over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Wafa. I'm Sharon Jerry. I'm a genetic counselor as well as a clinical implementation genomic scientist. I'm from Kenya and I'll be moderating today's session. So, Dr. George and Miss Louise, it's a pleasure to have you with us today. Let's just jump to the first question. George, what motivated Ensemble Outreach to invest in capacity building initiative, particularly in Africa?
That's a great question. Thank you, Sharon. So, Ensemble Outreach, we're focused to support Ensemble users worldwide. So, we have quite a global perspective. And the reason why we do this is because we believe that genomic data should belong to everyone, that everyone should be able to access and benefit the information that genomics can bring, starting from the Human Genome Project and to the thousands of species that we've added since. We also feel like what someone wants to use it for shouldn't be dictated by us alone. So we love to build capacity. We want to empower trainers where they are, that they can take on what's useful from our resource and bring it to their peers, bring it to their fellows, and use it for their research without needing to depend on us. So the more capacity we can build in that regard, the better.
I love your answer. Thank you so much. Louis, from your perspective, how does this translate into training on the ground from your experience? You're muted if you're speaking. You're muted.
Sorry, can you hear me
Okay.
now? All right,
Yes, we
lovely.
can.
Lovely. Yeah, so from our perspective, the way we've been working with PAPERI, it allows us to reach an even wider audience than what we would have been able to do before. So prior to collaborating with Wafaa and the PAPERI community, it would have been us teaching the different communities and audiences. But by allowing training leaders from, for example, PAPERI to do this for us, it makes the training even more specific to the community, which has been really great and also very interesting for us because we're learning a lot about the PAPERI community and what they're working on.
Yeah. Thank you so much for that very wonderful answer. And I concur. In Africa community, we work together as a community. Now let's move to George. From your perspective, why is it important to build local expertise in genomics tools rather than relying on external support?
I think it lets you really investigate the questions you want to answer and find the answers that make sense in your setting. Given genomic diversity is so great in Africa, I think there's a real need for people to take ownership of the work that they're doing, understand what the contexts are, and how global references might not be suitable. So, how can they put it into practice that suits their local contexts? So, the more local, the better.
Yeah. Thank you for acknowledging the need. And before we move on, allow me to share my screen. We are going to watch a very short video from a glimpse of the Ensemble PAPERI experience. Kindly confirm that you can see my screen. I was afraid.
At PAPERI, I learned that the most valuable skill isn't just being a user of bioinformatics tools, but it's through teaching others. Through the Train the Trainer Ensemble workshop, it transformed how I communicate complex genomics to real-world researchers. And also, it gave me an opportunity to give back to my community through training African researchers.
So back to you, Louise. From your experience in working with the first train the trainer cohort, what stood out the most? Engagement, challenges, unexpected outcomes that you faced?
That's a really great question because, in fact, this train the trainer course that we did with PAPERI was our very first remote virtual training, train the trainer course. So for us, because we would usually teach this in person, we had to kind of translate it into a virtual setting and try to make it as engaging as it would have been in an in-person setting. With that said, I think it worked really well, and I'm surprised we didn't do it any sooner because, I mean, the participants were very engaged. I was worried that it might not be as fun as teaching it in person, but in fact, there was a lot of back and forth. There was a lot of discussions, and it's been a great experience for us as well.
Yeah, I'm really glad you enjoyed that experience. Now back to you, George. Did anything surprise you from the program design perspectives?
I swapped to a different mic. I hope the sound is okay.
Yeah.
I was about to comment that the number of technical platforms that had to be involved to get the training done effectively was a surprise. I think we had used 4 or 5 different kinds of softwares, from planning documents to uploading videos to interacting with the students. A lot of different tech has to come together, and Louise can tell you best. Orchestrating that and so that everyone knows where to be and what's expected is a lot more challenging than setting a date and fixing a time for people to be in person from like an organizational point of view. But it's really rewarding to see that it can succeed, and for great for a far greater reach than you could ever do at an in-person meeting alone.
Yeah, sounds like that was a very wonderful experience with great surprises that you really enjoyed. So let's stay with you, George. Many training programs do not lead long-term impact. What makes the train the trainer model more suitable in your experience?
I'd say it naturally opens up the potential for future events. Most training programs collect feedback and they thank their audience, and you leave it there. Having a train the trainer for the attendee, they themselves naturally have to revisit what they learned in both the course they took and the train the trainer when it comes to preparing to share this for someone else. So it kind of completes a cycle of, for that individual, revising, refreshing what they know, have there been any updates, and then they pass it forward to the next cohort that learns from them.
Yeah, I completely agree. They say you understand something better when you teach it to someone else. Yeah, now let's go to you, Louise. What are some common challenges the participants face when planning to use the platform, especially the Ensembl one?
I'd say the technical challenges that we were having, like George mentioned, we used a few different we needed a few different resources, and we had to like try them out as well ourselves and learn them as we were developing the virtual course. But once you're familiar with them, it's just so much easier to repeat that course in future. Another challenge that I became aware of is actually the timings. So when you do virtual training, you kind of assume that everything will be much smoother and quicker, but in fact, you still need to count in a lot of in between time. For example, when you want to switch to a breakout room, you need to make sure you give them time to join those breakout rooms as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was an interesting little surprise.
Looks like we've all been enjoying the little surprises that have been coming along in this journey. And to George, how does outreach address these challenges systematically?
We need to try things in practice. and then we have some retrospective review after it. We check on what went well and what didn't go well, and then we can change the plans for the next iteration. So through trying it, iterating it, gathering feedback, that's how things get better.
Yes, Louise.
Yeah, I'd like to add to that. So
Okay.
I want to also thank PAPERI to give us this opportunity to try out this virtual trainer course, because if Wafaa hadn't been up for that experiment, we would have never, found out the challenges. So it's been really great, and George's connection to Wafaa has been so helpful also for us at Ensembl.
Yeah. So the networks we build lead to more engagement down the line that better the community and the society. So, Louise, what gaps did you observe specifically in the participants' prior training exposure or the exposure to genomic tools?
That's a good question. So I
Mm-hmm.
think the biggest challenges in that perspective was not being able to be there for like individual questions. When we do these kind of courses in person, um, we get an opportunity to have a one-to-one with the participants, and they can ask questions that they might not be necessarily comfortable asking in front of everyone. So you have that kind of one-to-one tutoring. Whereas with the virtual course, it is a bit more difficult to have that kind of relationship with the tutor. With that said, we did include some resources to allow for those kinds of questions. So, for example, if someone is uncomfortable asking a question by unmuting themselves, they can enter a question into a document instead, so it stays anonymous. So that's the only kind of downside of the virtual training. You don't get that one-to-one with the student.
Yeah, we really need to get creative to find ways to initiate the one-to-one in other ways.
Mm.
Yeah, so George, how can initiatives like PAPERI better support local trainers to become independent learners?
The great thing about PAPERI is it's a community of practice. So local trainers will find things that are valuable for their work and valuable for their research, and they have a community to build upon and to grow with. So I think it's a great initiative.
Yeah, so basically encourage more communities of practice that bring together independent researchers. Yeah. Louise, what support actually matters in practice during the training?
Being open to questions and being comfortable to ask questions. So I see that a lot, especially when teaching at universities. Some people are scared to speak up. They're worried that they might look silly when they ask a certain question. But I mean, that's all part of science. Science wouldn't be science if you don't ask questions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you wouldn't know if you don't know, you need to ask so that you can know. Now let's look forward a bit. George, what are the ensemble outreaches priorities for engagement and training in Africa for the next few years that you know of?
So our biggest priority is we're moving to a new data platform which will serve more genomes than ever before. It's a new space for us. It's got some very complicated technical challenges that come with it. And our team will need to figure out how to train on this. And the more feedback we can get from communities in Africa and on other continents will help us a lot. I think the other challenge we have to deal with is the impact of artificial intelligence on both research and how research is conducted and how people learn and train. And being a big biodata resource, we're quite popular in terms of people mining our resource. So we're understanding,
just beginning to understand the scope of there's very human needs of data platforms, but there are very specific needs that machine learning software require. So we're going through that process and trying to figure out how to best meet both of these aims: humans who want to explore data, and machines who are mining data that's exposed on the internet to train models so that they can be used for research or otherwise.
Thank you very much for that very insightful answer. Now to the both of you, as PAPERI marks its second anniversary, what message would you share to its next phase as we grow now, going on to 3 years?
Yeah, I can't believe PAPERI is 2 because the community has done so much in the last 2 years. I'm really glad that I was able to be part of widening the community and help the community grow. And I wish PAPERI all the best for the future and for more collaborations with them as well.
And from my side, just continue the great work that you're doing. I'd love to see some really cool research outputs come out from PAPERI, some Pan-African collaborations. I think there might be some in the works, and I'm excited to see what comes of that. I'd also, I think I have a little dream. I'd love to see PAPERI start some software development and develop some new bioinformatics tools and resources for understanding polygenic scores in Africa. So that's a big dream. I don't know if PAPERI is or not, but that's just a personal dream I'd love to see.
Thank you so much. And as a clinical implementation genomic scientist, I second your dream for seeing clinical output, especially from Africa. And with that, I'd like to say thank you very much, Dr. George and Miss Louise, for this very insightful reflections and kind words to PAPERI. I'll now hand over back to Dr. Wafaa for the closing remarks. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this insightful discussion. And at PAPERI, we believe that strong partnerships are the foundation for sustainable impact. And today's conversation is a reflection of that shared commitment. Thank you for being part of this journey. Thank you so much, Louise and George.
Thank you.
Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day.
You too. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.